Namaste, I am Bansuri Bliss founder, Dr. Kerry Kriger. We are here, Bansuri Bliss Office Hours, March 6, 2024. And I'd like to know what kind of questions we have out there or what Bansuri students of the world, you in particular, would like to learn.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ruchika.
Hi,
Um,
welcome.
yeah, thank you. I came to know about your web page recently, and I enrolled it. I'm looking for learning bursaries. I don't know how to play flute. It's like I know a little bit of saregama playing on flute. I learned watching YouTube channels and all those. But I want to learn more, like because it's like I'm doing on my own, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. So
Okay, let's first start. Do you think you're doing it right in the right manner? Or are you here because YouTube, what you found was frustration?
yeah,
What's it like? How long have you been learning on YouTube, and what do you think your progress is like from taking the
it's like
modern
on and
YouTube
off.
path?
It's like on and off. I'm not practicing it regularly. It's
Okay.
I wanted to learn, but it's like this. No one is watching me, and no one is giving the
There's no
feedback.
feedback. Yeah, so I've never met a successful Indian classical musician who learned exclusively from YouTube. And
Uh,
I've never heard of a successful Indian classical musician from past eras who learned without a guru.
mhm.
So there's nothing magical about the guru, but the guru gives feedback, and feedback is magical, okay? Because feedback will immediately enlighten you about something that you probably didn't even know existed that could easily be improved. So let's hear you play. If you have a flute there, that would be the best thing that you can do right now.
Yeah, I have a C scale one. I
Okay.
have I think I have a G also, but
All right.
I
Let me give you a first correction. It
okay.
won't necessarily help your music playing, but it'll help you be more correct and help you communicate better. G is not a scale. G is the key. The key is
Okay.
the first note of the scale, and we generally play Bansuri from three fingers down, so we would
Mhm.
say that's our sa is at. And the only Western note we need to know is the key. So we're in the key of G. We could
Okay.
play any number of scales on that
Okay.
flute.
This
Okay?
is a C one. Yeah.
All right. All
I'm
right,
so
two things right away. Turn your original sound on. Do you know what original sound is? Have you heard of that? No.
original sound. No.
Original sound. Okay. Well, we're not going to be able to hear your flute until it's turned on. So what I'd like you to do is look at this. You're on a phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to
Yeah.
make it even more difficult because
Uh-huh.
Zoom doesn't
Okay.
make it easy. But let's just hear it one more time and confirm that we cannot hear your flute. Now, what I want you to do though, first,
Mhm.
do you have a pen and a paper?
Let me grab one.
Okay, get everybody out there should have like a music notebook, ideally even a Bansuri music notebook or an Indian classical music notebook. It should be spiral bound and you just flip chronologically through the pages, write the date down, the teacher down, the name of the raga if you know those things, and then they're good to refer to later. What I want you to write down is maybe has surpassed what I always used to think. Well, now I don't know. They're up tied. I'd always just say, hey, what's the single most important piece of advice I could give to any flute player on planet Earth? And it would not be what I'm about to tell you right now. But this one has risen to equal importance. They're both 4 words long, so write them down. Take a deep breath. That happens before you play.
Okay.
Take a deep breath whenever you can. Meaning, if we're just sitting talking and then you decide to play, you've got lots of time. It's not like you're playing, 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 and you only have a quarter of a second to get a breath in before the next note. When you have time, you take a deep breath, and then your music will sound better on the flute, and you'll have more control. The next thing, I'll just skip ahead. Consciously, continuously breathe outwards. We took in a deep breath. We filled our lungs with air. And now to make music on the flute, the air has to be moving out of our mouth. And the second the air stops, what else do you think stops?
The music, the sound.
Correct. The music, the sound, and yet 99.9999% plus of Bansuri students that I encounter, they're stopping their breath all the time. Anytime their fingers don't know what to do, their breath stops. But the fingers and the breath are not connected, okay, essentially. All right, we can keep breathing out no matter what our fingers have to do. So then were two exceptionally powerful ways to improve your music. But you won't implement these things because none of my students do until they hear me repeat it over and over and over and over. Okay, or maybe you could write it down Bart Simpson style 100 times. Maybe you'd remember, but I still don't think so. So I just know from experience, keep these things in mind, but you're still going to need to be told. So do show up here again. Let's hear your flute playing now. Hopefully it comes out. Take a deep breath, and then I want you to play sa, and I want you to blow out. We need breath control all the way through the end of the note. So as your sa starts, this is like volume and this is time. As we move on, we should be slowly and nicely fading out in volume naturally because our lungs are naturally running out of air. But we need to listen and control the sound all the way there and make it fade out because otherwise it'll just be sound, sound, sound. Something in your mind will say, I'm out of air, but you're not really yet out of air. And then, boom, it just falls off a cliff. The volume just goes to nothing, and it doesn't sound like good Indian classical music. So take a deep breath, exhale, 3 holes closed, that sa, and play a nice long note.
Sure.
All right, that's enough because I can't hear after like 2 seconds of it. I can't hear anything because Zoom thinks it's an echo and it gets rid of the sound. So we will get you fixed up with that. But first, I'll say I've seen you do it 2 or 3 times. Is blow a false note and then start your main note. The false note is that one you blow for like a second. It's like a will sound come out if I blow into my flute, and then you stop. But what's going to happen if you keep doing that? It'll just become a habit that you like to hear that sound, and it's just not a good sound that comes out. And it's guaranteeing that when you start a phrase, it'll abruptly end poorly because I have students who, for a long time, I have to tell them, don't do that thing. Stop right there. Commit to the note. When you blow on it, you're committed to the note. The note is going to come out. You don't have to do this test note that you purposely end abruptly. So right now, I'm going to send you a link, and
Sure.
I'll everybody out there in the world of music, if you're ever on Zoom, you better know this right here. Your music is not going to sound good in all likelihood, certainly if it's a Bansuri, unless your original sound is turned on. I don't know if you can hear the difference. Right now, my original sound is off. Right now, my original sound is on. There's no music, though. But once I turn my Tambora on, there's going to be music in the background. So anyway, here's how to fix it, is that you're on a mobile phone, and they're not even going to give you the option to see it right now. You're going to have to log out of this meeting. And once you're logged out of the meeting, click probably at the bottom right 3 dots for settings of Zoom. And there's going to be something about original sound to give you the option for it. You want to click that button and then come back in the meeting. And
Okay.
then once you get in here, we're going to have to actually enable it, but we can do that together. First, try to find that setting and then come
Sure.
back.
Yeah.
All right. Vajra, what's been going on in the world of flute?
Nobody's watching me, so I'm sure I'm doing, I remember when my teacher was alive, I think I'm doing just fine. And, one note in, no, no, no. So I just want to get better, I want.
Okay. Well, you sounded good, what I heard just before clicking record. Do you have a Tambora that you're able to turn on?
I have a electronic Tanbora on my phone. Yes. Should I turn it
Okay.
on?
Go ahead, turn it on at the pitch you expect that it should be at, and tell us what pitch that is.
G.
All right. When you say G, I assume it's precisely at G.
Precisely, yes.
Okay, good. So everyone out there, if you want, you can have your Tambora on if it's at G. And you've got your first strings of the Tambora, I assume, will be at paw.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I checked, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, take a
yes.
look.
Pa, sa, sa, sa. Yes.
All right, good. All right, you're like the first student ever who's been in one of my lessons to say not just the visible note that's showing, but to say it in a way that demonstrates some understanding of what's actually going on the tambora. There's one tambora over there, a person playing it over there, and there's another tambora over there, but let's just talk about one tambora. It's not just pa coming out. Pa's the first note. It's implied that the other notes are sa, and that's what we just heard. Pa, sa, sa, sa. There's somebody plucking 4 strings. The first one is low pa. The second and third ones are sa, and then the final one, because sometimes it may be a 5-string tambora, final one is a low sa, an octave under our sa. All right, good. So we're at G. Now go ahead and just, let's do what we were doing before, just trying to get a nice sa out. Take a deep breath. Exhale, consciously, continuously breathe outwards, and let it fade out. Is your original sound turned on?
It is.
Okay, good.
Are we
All
not
right.
hearing it?
No, it was coming out, but it would sometimes get better, meaning that something is not coming through. I'm curious, are you on any kind of external microphone, or is that just your native computer
It's my
microphone?
computer microphone.
Okay, yeah, ideally...
I actually, it'll take me about 1 second to get this going. I just didn't think.
Try it out. It may be better. The best, though, if you know you're going to be playing music, then get a decent microphone, and your music will sound better for all of us, for certain. And when you record yourself.
Can you hear me? This is
I can hear you. Try
Let's-
it out now.
let's see if this is any
Re-click
better.
Original sound.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it undoes
It did.
itself.
Is it better with the microphone?
It did sound better, and the whole thing was good, except for your last quarter of a second of flute playing.
I draw.
And there was the whole control just like went. And it was weird because it was almost like you exhaled the rest of your air, and that did something, because if you had truly followed my advice and just keep on exhaling and go with the natural decrease in lung capacity, it would have just smoothed out instead of like taking some weirdo increase in volume. So do it again and control it all the way through the end of the sound. Better, but you don't even need to keep
Whoa.
it. Here's the thing. You don't need to keep the sound going so long when you're arrived at a point. You had arrived at a point where you should have just ended it because you were losing you were kind of fighting to get more air to keep it going longer. And then when you tried to end it with control, you didn't have it. So it doesn't have to go so long. More importantly than play a long note is make your note as beautiful as possible. And that means fade it out with control while you still have enough air to do so, or until you're able to just use everything and have it fade out. You don't have to try to make it longer. I'd rather just work more on the aspect of the volume fading out smoothly into nothing.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm used to knowing it's over because I ran out of air, so I have to find a new way of ending.
Again, deep breath. good. You were playing a raga before. What were you playing?
I was attempting Brindavani Sarang.
All right. All right, good. I believe it's Brindavani. Brindavan.
Say it again so I have it right.
I mean, I said it like you said it for a decade plus, and then someone who knew from native tongue told me it was Brindavani versus Brindavani.
Brindavani.
I used to say Brindavani, but I think it's Brindavani. Maybe Galagali can tell us. Not too important. Anyway, it's one of the most well-known afternoon ragas, early afternoon raga. And let's go ahead and hear you play it. Just play some Alap for, say, just play some Alap and let's hear what happens.
Enough.
Very nice. Yeah, I like it. You studied with G.S. Sachdev, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. When was that?
On and off for about 30 years, but very, mostly off.
Yeah.
But a little bit up until he died, from about 30 years ago.
Were those classes mainly at his house, or where would they take
lessons
place?
at his house.
Private?
Private, yeah.
Private?
Yeah, most of them were, to be honest, most of them were like in the 90s. Very little recently.
And did you do mostly Alap, or did you do compositions? Did you write stuff out, or what took
Mostly
place
he made
lessons?
really excruciatingly painful faces at me when I would play. I spent years trying to get my saw in tune, and then, after years, finally he'd let me play Ray, and then we worked on the tone. But yes, he did finally, because my hearing is not good in terms of, it would take me forever to be able to hear something and play it back. He would let me write things down and learn them by reading them, and then throw away the reading.
Well, I don't just let people write stuff down. I do my best to make them write it down.
Yeah.
I can't make them, but I can tell them repeatedly of the importance of it, and I think there's a huge value in writing the music down and writing it correctly. So let's see, everyone out there, she's playing Brindavani Sarang, so why don't you write down the name and write down the scale, and rather than chat it in, which my instinct was like, I'm just going to chat it in. I really don't like chatted Indian classical music. I'm looking for my notebook. Let me get my notebook. It's up there blocking the light on that air conditioner. All right, get yourself a notebook. Hey, dogs or not, have some kind of notebook, ideally spiral bound. And then what do we have in here? Amrit Varshini, Dean Palazzi, Gorat Kalyan. Hey, a little history of what I've been learning or teaching lately. Didn't really fill these pages up, but that's probably like what happened at a lesson, the structure of an Alap, Kalyan, Nat Bhairav. It's all scribbly, it's all ugly. What's up with that? Well, during a class, your writing is probably going to be scribbly and ugly too. And it's going to be up to you to go home. You're probably already at home. Pull out a nice piece of paper. I use 3-ring binder, 3 holes, so that you can put it into a permanent thing and flip through it and then move it around alphabetically so that your ragas go through the notebook alphabetically. But I write it down nicely and cleanly so that I can refer to it in the future. That's how I did it. These days I use art software to write the Indian classical music, but for 20 years or so, that's how I did it. And I have hundreds of pages of nicely written out, handwritten music. Everyone should be able to write it by hand. So let's write it by hand right now. Most of the music that you find online that I find, and I have actually been searching more lately for what other people have up there, is just poorly written because it's typed in, and a lot of the subtleties of the music cannot easily be or cannot be typed in. Now I need a pen. All right, giving lots of learning tips today. It's good to have a good pen. I was gifted this pen. It's a Pilot G2, and it writes really well. What's that mean? The ink comes out when I move it across the paper. It's annoying enough to have to write a whole page of Indian classical music by hand, and your hand hurts by the end because we're not used to writing much by hand and trying to make everything perfect, that if I put like a Como line, do I have to do it twice? And I don't want to do that, and it won't look good either. So a good pen is a good thing. So I'm going to write the name of the raga at the top of the page. That's how I always do it. Brindavani Sarang. Then it's easy to tell what's on the page when you're flipping through it. Put a line under it, then it's even easier to find. Brindavani Sarang. Sarang is a family of ragas. There's various ragas with sarang in their name. Most of them are related to each other, but not all of them. All right, so let's write the scale. Sa, re, ma, pa, ni, sa. Right? Everything is should. I've got a high dot over the high sa. High sa is 1 octave above the sa that began. They have the same basic feeling. They're the same note, just a different octave. So we could say this is pentatonic scale. There's 5 unique notes. Sa, re, ma, pa, ni. Okay? Now on the descent, sa, como, ni, pa, ma, re, sa. Como, ni has a line under the knee. Everything is uppercase. Note that everything is uppercase. This is how I want you to write. When you're writing by hand, everything uppercase. All right, so what's it mean? Ni, it's should ni in ascent, and como ni in descent. What's that mean? Because you hear that all the time. You hear Indian scales described like that all the time, and yet people are confused when they hear that. Because what happens if I let me come up with an example here. If I go from high sa down to should ni, am I in descent? I kind of am, and yet it's in should ni on the ascent. What's that mean? It means there's ambiguity in how people say that. The better way to say it is, if you play ni, then you will go up. If you play a should ni, then you're going to go up. All right? If you play a como ni, you're going down. You must go down. Right? That's unambiguous. I'm at should ni. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go up to high sa. If I'm at como ni, I'm going to go down to pa or something else below the note. All right, good. Now, can you play us the scale, please?
Me? You want me to play the scale?
Vajra,
Okay.
you.
Okay, let me turn my guy back on.
Everyone, we've got Tamboras precisely at G.
I don't know why my Tambora stopped. I'm not sure why it's not going.
Turn it up a notch too, or here's mine. If I don't know if that helps you.
Oh yeah.
Here's my original sound just got turned on. Maybe the Tambora just became audible.
Is your Tambora G?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Then I'll just play to you.
again from sa, just sa re ma pa ni sa. Good. Thank you. Now, show us the fingering. We can't see your hands.
I don't know if it is. How's that?
It's good. What I want you to try this week is when you're going from the komal knee to the paw, unless you're trying to get a gummick to come out, you shouldn't lift.
Don't let a saw come in there. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying no, it's got nothing to do with that. It's about you're adding in, you are not coming straight down to the paw. You're lifting your middle finger to make it easier to put the paw down instead of going straight from the komal knee to the paw, which would enable you to get some meaned, smoothly glide from the komal knee to the paw. If you are trying to do a gummick, that's fine, but make sure you lift both those fingers up to get the saw and then come down to the paw.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's hard for me to go straight from knee to paw.
And you've probably avoided it. You probably are just out of habit. Oh, it's easier if I just lift the middle finger and then come down to the paw. You've made a habit of lifting that when it doesn't need to be lifted. Better is to practice being able to roll it from the komal knee to the paw. So how would you do that? You do a lot of knee paw over and over. Knee paw, knee paw. Do it slow, do it fast, do it different speeds. Pani, pani. Nipa mapa, nipa mapa, pani pama, pani pama, mapa nipa, mapa nipa, pama pani, pama pani, sanipa, sanipa, nisa nipa, nisa nipa. We're just doing lots of phrases that use that so that we get to practice it a lot. All right, good. Let me play for a second. I haven't played flute today. Welcome everyone out there. I'm Bansuri Bliss founder, Dr. Kerry Kriger, teaching Brindavani Sarang. This is Office Hours, and I'm going to change the pitch of my Tambora because the key of my flute is F, and I blow a bit sharp of F, not even a bit, I'd say a good amount on this flute. I put it at F plus 32 cents. F plus 32 cents. I don't care about that number 3. That's a piano octave. Okay, plus 32 cents. I'm 32% of the way from F to F sharp. I realize that my good mic is not plugged. It's in front of me, but it's not plugged in. All right, now we should have better sound. And if the sound's not coming through well, let me know. That whole thing was sa and below. Sa, should ni, come back up to sa, como ni, pa, should ma was the lowest note I got to. I used my 7th hole and I rolled my flute. That enabled me to get down to a low ma. But even if you don't do that, generally speaking, you're going to explore the sa, the knees, and the low pa. And you're going to return to sa. That, to me, is the first section of the Alap. I explored the low octave. Now I'm going to move up. And, hey, I had this chart right here. We saw it a few minutes ago. The structure... No, I'm sorry, this was a different chart. But hey, let's just draw it out right now. What is the structure of an Alap? You don't have to abide by this. The structure of an Alap. But this is a good format to follow, generally speaking. Some lines on this page. All right, not the best drawn graph, but there's sa, and here's our low pa. I need a dot right there. Sa and low pa. All right, we started out at sa, a long sa, essentially. I always start a raga, right, or a phrase that brings me to the sa, and then I'm going to slowly work my way down to the lowest I'm going to go to, which was down at the low ma, and then I'm going to work my way up. This is time on this axis, so I'm going into the low notes, and then I'm moving back to sa. Let me draw that line there. All right, I started at sa, come to my lowest note, and I return to sa, and this should be kind of smoothed out. All right, I'm playing other notes as well, but that's the general, you know, that's like a couple minutes worth of music or whatever. And then I'm usually going to work my way up to the high sa. High sa is an important note, exactly an octave above where we started. Sa, the most important note in music. And then I'm going to keep on going up to the highest note I'm going to hit. And I'm going to return back to the sa, the high sa. Now I'm running out of paper, but we can see I was at sa, dropped lowest note, came back to sa, I moved up slowly but surely to high sa. I went up to my highest note, I returned to that high sa, and now I'm just going to drop down to sa, where I started, and end the Alap. All right, that's my super simplified structure of an Alap. As opposed to what? Picking up your flute and just blowing random notes all around and not having any idea of where you're going. Like going out in your car in the desert and you're just driving around in whatever direction. Well, sometimes, but usually that's not going to get the job done for you. You got to follow some kind of structures. And this is the primary structure that you're going to see, not just for Alap, for Jor, for Jala. Okay, we're going to start out at sa. We're going to go into the low notes. We're going to return to sa. We're going to move up to the high notes. We're eventually going to return to sa. And then we've shown everything. So there's not that much reason to keep continuing. Now it's not this strict, okay? There's leeway, but that's the basic framework to keep in mind. Let me condense it all into 1 minute. I'm going to play a 1 minute Alap. First, I need to see what's happening if my... let's see, my battery's not charging. Let me try to fix that, though. Sometimes my battery just decides that it doesn't want to charge. All right, there's a high chance that this drops out. Vajra, I'm going to make you a co-host. Just go accept that. And if I drop out, I'm going to return on a different device after a minute or so. Okay. Meanwhile, let me play a 1 minute Alap. Now, you could play an Alap that's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes if you want, but let me just condense it all. All right, condensed Alap. But I covered all these main points. I started out at Sa, I dropped down to my lowest note, which was low Ma, came back to Sa, worked my way up. All right, there's stuff happening in the middle, like you got to think about what's your vadi, what's your most important note, all right, and give those notes their due. But eventually I made it up to high Sa, and then I kept on going all the way up to the high Pa, returned to high Sa, final time, and then I descended and ended my Alap with Sa. That'll work in every single raga.
What is the vadi for this raga?
I would say Re. I'll say Ni, Re, and Pa are going to be the most important notes. But let me check the Shud Ni. There's a lot of Shud Ni in Brindavani Sarang, but the Re, and probably Re is Vadi and Pa is some Vadi. But let me check my original notes. There's some ragas where it's super important to have your vadi very audible, and those ones I always, most of the time remember them, but some ragas it's less important, and then sometimes, to me it's like vadi and some vadi. It's usually two notes that are important. Some vadi being the second most important note, but if you remember both of them and give them equal weight, it'll still probably sound really good. All right, Brindavani Sarang. Actually, it's not going to be there. All right, go to my folder of Vijay Raga Vrao lessons. Keep your music well organized, and then you can find what you're looking for when you want it. Brindavani Sarang. All right, I learned it. Looks like Rupak and Teental, 2001, August 14th, 2001. I learned a Rupak. Usually I didn't write dates down, though I wish that I had. So what I'm trying to find is the first time I learn a raga, I probably write the scale and the vadi and some vadi at the top, and indeed, I'll go ahead and share this. Oh good, my battery's charging.
Yes, Wadi is Rishabh and Samwadi is Pancham.
According to... I agree with that, but I'm curious, where are you getting that from? Gala Gali. Alright, well, as I said Re Vadi, Pa, Samvadi. I didn't write the Samvadi here. I'm not sure why. Maybe it wasn't stated at the time, but Re is written there. Re is the most important note. And it's not just going to be a Re. Usually it's going to be a big Ma ornament on the Re. What does it mean to be a big ornament? Audible. I can play an ornament real fast. Re. Okay? Or I can draw out the length of the ornamental note. The Ma is the ornamental note. As opposed to... It's a very noticeable Ma ornament on the Re. All right. This is not beginner, but there's my original notes. My original notes when I was in class, no. My notes when I got home, and I, as cleanly as I could by hand, for the permanent archival record, wrote down what I had learned in the class in a way that ideally is correct, concise, legible, easy to read, so that I can sight read it and not have to sit there deciphering what things say or mean. Here's a composition. There's some written Alap. Hey, let's go ahead and do that, because I seldom refer back to my written Alaps. And I don't often write out Alaps for my students, so I certainly have done that. But let's play what's written. All All right, that was the very first phrase. Then there's a semicolon, which means moving on to the next phrase. Probably breathe there. But here there's an actual note that says quick break. I usually wouldn't do that, but it says it, so I may as well practice it. All right, pa-re from low pa is the ornament, and then it kind of fades out with a little bit of ma ornament and a very quick break, and then down re-sa-ni. Re-sas are the ornamental notes. So what's written here? There's a low dot under the pa. The ornamental notes are superscript. They're small and they're superscript, and they've got arcs connecting them to the main note. Pa-re, ma, re-sa-ni. And then there's lines. These are just lines of the page in the black and white that kind of come through sometimes. But this is a line saying, play it for a while. It's not saying exactly how long, because it's alap and there's no rhythm in alap. But it's saying, hold that re, hold the ni, hold the sa. And then the semicolon is saying, what's after this is a different phrase. Deep breath. Here, there's no ornament written. So it's implied that from ni to sa, there's going to be meaned. If there's no other ornament, then you should play with nice meaned. That means the connection between the notes. There's an infinity of notes between ni and sa, but if I just lift my finger like a piano key, it's binary. It's that or that, but we don't want that in any classical music. Roll your finger, slide your finger, and then you can get more of the connection between the notes, showing the infinity of notes in there. All right, now this is something I don't ever do, and I've never seen my own writing with it anywhere, but as we saw, this is from possibly 2001 or even earlier, and who knows how I did that, but that, to me, a vertical bar is probably implying maybe this. I mean, really, I don't even know why that would be there. I'd even remove it, because I'd think it would be a ni sa. But as written, the only thing I can make of it is maybe it means like just like that, kind of take a quick breath between the ni and the sa. But really, I don't know why that's there. Just make it ni sa, ni sa. Sorry, my Zoom thing's blocking the end of this page. Oh, so there's a lot more. All in one breath. Everything between the semicolons is probably intended to be played in one breath. So that means take a long breath. We see our ma-rays happening here. Ma-ray, ma-ray, ma-ray. All right, and this is a ma-ray, ma-re-sa-ni, sa is what it looks like. The semicircles under it are implying some type of rhythm, like these come inside of one beat. These come inside of one beat. How strict? Not that strict. It's alap. And alap is essentially without rhythm. What's this mean? An arc above it means have good meaned going from the ma to the re. Don't break between them and try to have good meaned. Kind of a long phrase to all do in one breath. You should be able to, but if you need to breathe, then you breathe. All right, we'll do, I don't know, maybe one more line of this just to see the kind of stuff that VJ Raga Rao wrote out for me, or had me write out for written alaps. All right, this right here clearly does have some rhythm, because here's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, quick breath. So it just makes sense that should be with rhythm. There's even these micro beats, 8 notes to the beat. Re, sa, re, sa, re, sa, ni. Re, sa, sa, re, sa, sa, re, sa, ni. But for our purposes, just focus on the melody, the notes. I'm not concerned about rhythm, generally speaking, in the Alap. Let's play it, though, right here. I just prefer to even just imagine there's no rhythmic notation there at all. Just get the notes to come out in the correct order and make them sound good. That time, I did what it says, quick breath right there. The quick breath just kind of separates what was before it with what's after it, with the komal ni clearly being the note of importance. That this phrase is all about bringing us to that komal ni. It's as if that were on sum. Next part, pani pani ma. You don't have ability to go to low ma, probably, if you don't have a 7th hole. Your next flute should have a 7th hole. I'm guessing that Vajra's flute has a 7th hole. How am I able to guess to that, even though most flutes don't have it? Because she studied with Sachdev, and Sachdev played 7-hole flute. Let's see what the line was. Pani pani ma pa. I'm going to put this away. Why? Should I practice it? Yes. Should I go back through it since I haven't looked at it in years? Yes. But the spirit of Alap is not on a page of music. Alap is not a composed thing. Not in my conception of it, for certain. Right? Though I have met a very talented musician who likes to memorize Alaps and play them. I don't know why. Even when I was playing that, I was like, all right, now on to the fun stuff. Let's improvise Alap. And my last phrase, I just improvised, and it felt a lot better. Right? Should you be able to play what's written on the page? Yes. Should you understand it? Yes. Should you practice it? Yes. But then put it all away and take your raga intuition and just play some music. Take a deep breath. Consciously, continuously breathe outwards. End your first phrase of the Alap with a sa, like I did. But it wasn't just sa, like I do sometimes. Now I thought, hey, let's come straight to that re. Re is the most important note. We were just talking about that. Raise the body. And I said it's got a big ma ornament, so I did all of that, all in one line. Different line, alternative first line of Alap. I just made it up on the spot. I still followed all the rules. Or easiest, and if you go to my video, it's up on YouTube in the Bansuri Q&A playlist, or it's in the Bansuri Q&A Bansuri Bliss Academy course. How to start and end any raga is the name of the video. The simplest way, if I want, well, simplest, I'm just going to blow sa, but I don't ever just blow sa. An unornamented sa, unlikely. Pa-sa, or ni-sa, or re-sa. I'm probably going to start with a pa-sa. And that can be my first line of the Alap. I can open the concert with this. All right, our Bansuri Bliss Office Hours is coming to a close. So if you have a question, chat it in, or you can unmute yourself. If you have a request, this is your opportunity for that. Ruchika, we never got back to you. I apologize for that. I got lost in the music. If you want to play, we can get your original sound enabled or find out what happened when you went to hit that setting. Did you have any luck?
Yeah, I did all the settings, so
Okay, good. Now, unless you've already done it, now go to the bottom right of your
yeah,
phone. Oh, and did you
more.
click enable original
Yes,
sound?
yes, I did.
Okay, good. Now let's hear you turn on, if you, I can't remember if you have a Tambora going or not, but now you
No, I
probably
don't.
don't because you're on your phone. Let's hear your saw. Take a deep breath, consciously, continuously breathe outwards. Gotta turn. It's good, right there. What
Okay.
happened there? There was the terrible note followed by a really nice note. So if you had just got committed to the nice note, then you can get rid of that terrible note and no one will ever have to hear that again because it came out like some like not, it wasn't good. But then all of a sudden you played a perfect sounding note. So why couldn't you just start with the perfect note? So just, it's a mental thing of you don't need that thing. Trust. When you blow on your flute, you've clearly practiced enough. You're not an absolute beginner who's like, how do I get sound out of a flute? You get a nice sound. So try it again. And remember, we're trying to have breath control the whole way out. So you don't have to drag on the note, but be conscious of your lungs running out of air and let them run out of air. Use that to your advantage to just quietly fade out the note.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, thank
Do
you.
it again.
Okay, is it? Okay. Sorry.
You're blowing too hard. I can tell. Because I hear what's coming out is this airy sound, and the airy sounds come out when you're blowing too hard. So just blow a little bit softer, and just no matter what happens, go with it. Even if it just is a complete failure, I'd rather you try to get the note to come out
Okay.
than giving up and stopping and restarting. Good, but you tried to keep it loud, but we don't need to keep it loud. We need to let it fade out. So do it one more time. That was way better. I was prepared to just like end the whole session on that because that was a big improvement. Try it again, but just see if you can let it fade out in volume. All right. You got a lot of air. That's good. You're going to be a good flute player if you keep taking lessons and practicing. And you got a lot of air. Okay. Most students, if they have an air issue, it's the other way. It's like woo, and then it just stops. Like, oh, I ran out of air. You got a lot of air, but you don't need to be blowing. You're instead of using all that air to get this far, and then it just stops. I'd rather you just start like consciously, like, I'm kind of running out of air. Let's go ahead and start to end this note by making it a lot softer and controlling, using all that air to still have control of it. So it'll take practice. Go turn on some Bansuri recording in the Alap, and you'll hear how the sounds just fade out. Or listen to a vocalist. It's not just going to be loud and then go into nothing. Let me just demonstrate the difference. That just ended all of a sudden. Right? It's like a what? Huh? You were playing music and that's just ended versus. Here's what I felt. I felt it was like when I started to fade things out, let me fade out with my lungs first. And then once they're kind of out of air, where's the air that remains? Right in here in our buccal cavity. Is that what it is? Our mouth. We've got this air there. It's still there. And we can use that to get the final air out. That's all coming from the mouth muscles and not the lungs or the lungs and the mouth. Now, can you apply that? I don't know, but that's just what I felt, so I'd share it. It's mostly just an awareness. I need this note to fade out nicely. How can I make that happen? And let's make sure that that does happen. All right, everybody, I'm Bansuri Bliss founder, Dr. Kerry Kriger. This has been Office Hours. I will be on every Wednesday in March. That's my plan anyway. It'll be this same time of day, except for the last Wednesday of the month will be a, we'll say, evening time America, which maybe early morning India, specifically 5 p.m. Los Angeles time on the last Wednesday. But until then, we're at this time of day, which is 8 a.m. Los Angeles time on Wednesdays. So I encourage everyone to show up again. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Enjoy your Bansuri playing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.